Mr. BB.
Hey. All right, you are live. We are live in the D with Mr. BB. We're joined today by Miss Shondra Quarles, who is an early childhood educator and children's book author who resides in Dallas. In 2014, Miss Quarles' students inspired her to write a self-published her first ebook titled Kindergartner Wisdom. The best advice I ever got came from kindergartners. Chandra later went on to publish her first paperback book titled The Teacher Who Didn't Want to Go to School in 2016. This book earned her a prestigious award from the National Celebrity Educators for authoring a book about teachers. The Teacher Who Didn't Want to Go to School was also a children's book finalist for the 2017 and 2018 Indie Author Legacy Awards. In 2017, Sandra co-authored a book about diversity titled Trees. In 2018, she published Black Lives Matter, a picture book for kids, and My Black is Beautiful. Both books were written to promote self-love. Sandra went on to be featured author at the Art 2018 NAACP convention, and her books were featured at the 2018 Essence Music Festival. Her book, Curly Hair, Don't Care, was written to encourage her children to be proud of their natural hair. Her most recent projects are Young King and Fate's Garden. Young King is a book of affirmations for young boys, and Fate's Garden follows a young girl who discovers the power of planting seeds. Sound is currently working on The Three Bears Go to School. The story is a unique twist, and The Three Bears Go to School was inspired by an incident that occurred at the elementary school where Miss Quarles currently teaches. You can follow Sandra, who's writing journey, on all social media platforms at iHeartTeaching. Wow. And she's joining us today right here on Live in the D with Mr. BB. How are you doing, Miss Quarles?
I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited about this opportunity.
You're welcome. Thank you for
Can you hear
coming
me?
on.
Oh,
Yes, I can hear you just fine. Thank you for
okay.
coming on, and thank you for sharing your amazing literacy journey and teaching journey with us. Um, so tell us a little bit of like how, well, we just read a little bit about you, but like a little bit more of how you decided to really write, and then all these books came along, and then these awards and whatnot. How did all this come to be?
Well, I've always written. I used to write stories in high school and write poetry. But in 2014, I was teaching kindergartner, and I had these amazing kindergartners who love to talk. And one day we were just talking about if they could give anybody advice, what would they give them?
Right.
And one of my students gave me some advice. She told me to be the real me,
Hmm.
that she loved the real me. So something told me I need to write this book. So I ended up self-publishing my own book, and it was based on their quotes and their motivational quotes. Some of them were kind of funny, some were just kind of quirky, just to motivate, grown-ups.
Right.
So that was my first publication.
Okay, so your first publication was your book about the children's quotes, which is the best advice I ever got from kindergartners.
Yes, and that was my inspiration. And from there, I just decided I wanted to write. It just sparked like something that was in me to want to pursue being an author.
Right, right. I can understand that. It just once you get that spark in you, you have to keep going with it, let it ignite. So how did you tell us about your second book, the teacher who didn't want to go to school?
Well, actually, by then I was teaching first grade, and I loved first grade, except there was so much paperwork. And I'm a teacher where I love hands-on learning. I love teaching to be fun and learning to be fun. So teaching wasn't fun for me. And I ended up writing about a teacher. It was basically a poem about me not wanting to go to school. And I
Right.
said, this maybe could be a book. So
Mm-hmm.
I would take my Word document to my classroom and read it to my first graders, and they would listen, and they give me ideas and say, well, this is how what Miss Confetti looks like. We think she doesn't want to go to school because of this. And that just it really made me want to publish the book because they were so into it and they helped me through the process. And so then I was like, this is going to be my first paperback book, and I ended up
Nice.
publishing it in 2016. Yes.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations on your first paperback book being published in 2016. It was 4 years ago. Let's fast forward to now, and we'll probably cover all the books you wrote. But fast forward to now, 2020, you have a book called "The Teacher Who Was Quarantined and Couldn't Go Back to School." Um,
Yes.
Give us some
Yes.
insight. Of course, I'm assuming that because of the COVID-19 coronavirus, it has something to do with that. But can you give us some insight on what that's about?
Exactly. Actually, this is the book. And Miss Confetti is back. She is the teacher who I wrote about who didn't want to go to school. But in this book, she actually does want to go to school, but she can't go to school because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we just follow Miss Confetti through what she does, her experiences, her emotions. And this was almost as if I was journaling
Mm-hmm.
my journey with
Right.
the COVID-19 pandemic. And so it was really cathartic for me to write it because I was able to get my emotions and my feelings and thoughts on paper, because it was kind of traumatizing, and there's still a lot of uncertainty. But in the beginning there was so much uncertainty and teachers couldn't go into the classroom to teach. We were actually at home, and we were teaching virtual or remote classes. And
Right.
so Miss Betty just takes us through her experience, and I feel like people can relate to it. And it's a book that even in a few years you can pick up this book, and it's going to teach you a little bit about what happened during the pandemic of 2020.
Yeah, and that's kind of funny that you say that. Today I was talking to my sister, and you know how, especially older generation grandparents, parents always claim that they had these hard trials just getting to school, that they walked through 6 feet of snow and went through the dark alleys and fought off wolves. Hear some of them tell it, and then we would say, okay, but did you go through a pandemic though? So now, so now our generation has something like, no, we went through a pandemic and was going to school. So
Exactly,
so
exactly.
yeah, so this will be able to be a bit of a time capsule of this book.
Yes.
So how Miss Confetti and the adventures of Miss Confetti and what she's going through. Again, this is your journaling. So what has been some of your experiences with the COVID-19 pandemic and the things you've had to go through and maybe adapt and adjust to?
Well, just not being able to really, like, as a teacher, not being able to be in my classroom and teach, that was a struggle. It was very challenging. And not being able to see my scholars, I can see them through video chats and things like that, or
Right,
on Zoom, but it's different because I teach really little kids. I actually am teaching pre-K 3-year-olds in an elementary school. So just to get those hugs and that love and to hear their little stories,
right.
like I miss all of that.
Yeah, I
That's
was
what
gonna
I
say,
really
since you
miss.
teach younger children, that I can definitely see they getting to get the hugs and the art and the little squeaky voices. Is just
Yes.
it's that in person definitely is detaching. You know, Zoom just doesn't Zoom and FaceTime just don't do it justice with
No.
that attachment that we have, especially again with when they're that little. So wow, yeah, I can imagine. Um, so this is Miss the the
Quarrel.
the
Oh,
the, the
confetti.
Miss Confetti's. This is Miss Confetti's second adventure, correct?
Yes, this is her second adventure with
So,
me.
right, do we expect more adventures from Miss Confetti? Is she gonna be doing more things in the future, or we don't know yet?
I'm not sure. I have to be inspired by something with my Miss Confetti book, because I wasn't even expecting to write this book. She was just
Right.
a character, from one book. I didn't think I would write a sequel or anything. So we'll see. We'll see what I'm inspired to write, and what I can connect Miss Confetti to next.
Okay. All right. Well, we're looking forward to seeing if what else Miss Confetti has to do might do, and some of the past things she's done, some of the things she did when she didn't want to go to school, and what she did when now that she's quarantined. We can get your books on Amazon, correct?
Yes, they're available on Amazon.
Awesome, awesome. So we'll be sure to check them out on Amazon. Miss Curl's book. And another book of yours that you wrote back in 2018, but it's coming back up again. So I think we should address it. Black Lives Matter, a picture book for kids.
Oh, wow. Yes. And I was inspired to write that book because there was just so much loss of life.
Hmm.
And I work with younger kids. So there was a moment where one of my scholars said that police officers kill us when we were speaking about officers during like a career day.
Hmm.
And I was just like taken aback by that. And so I wrote a poem that just to encourage kids and to know and let them know that they matter, and for them to to embrace who they are, and just more of it's like an affirmation, just to give kids of colors affirmations that they can follow and know that you matter, we care about you, that we have experienced a lot of loss in life, but
Hmm.
you just stay, just keep that light shining and know that we care about you because you are the future and we are kings and queens.
Right.
We come from kings and queens, and sometimes we don't always hear that.
Absolutely. And what is the importance for you as a teacher, especially teaching young children, for them to know that, for them not only to know that, they come from kings and queens and that they can gravitate to be that as they get older, but to get that representation in the literature as well.
That was one reason why I wanted to start writing books, because you don't always find a lot of Black authors. I know now we're coming into that where we're discovering there are more Black authors and Black characters in books. And so I love putting diverse characters in books, and just for me to be the author and I can actually take my books to school and read them. And my scholars are like, oh, you're the author. Or they see my picture in the book. It's like so amazing.
Yes, yes, I bet that is, and I can see that, and it is so amazing. And I'm looking as we're having this conversation. I'm looking at your Amazon page, and there are just so many pieces of literature that you have written since your very first piece in 2016. How many how many books have you published to date?
I started losing track because when I started, it was just like I'm playing around with it. I maybe have about between 8 and 10 that I really, really like push. So maybe 10 that are
Okay.
solid.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great, and I'm glad that you're getting the representation out and getting yourself out there as an author. Those books, and I imagine that they're doing well.
Yeah, I love it. And my hometown supports me. I'm from New Mexico, so
Oh,
my hometown is always supporting me. And I'm always in the newspaper and they feature me and they talk about my books. And just being an educator, I have like lots of friends back home. And so I get lots of support. So I appreciate that from Hobbs, New Mexico. I
all
appreciate
right.
this support.
Yes, shout out to Hobbs, New Mexico. I'm live in the D with Mr. BB. And that brings up another question of ours with this support and the love that you get from your hometown and being in Texas. What has the feedback been like for your most recent book, The Teacher Who Was Quarantined?
Teachers get it, like they understand it, and it's also a book that parents can get because they've had to go through this journey with us. And I
Hmm.
can't wait to. I haven't been in school, so I can read it to my scholars yet, but I can't wait to get back to school and actually share it. And we can go through these experiences together, and it's so relatable. Like we can compare how my life was and how their lives were, and really just see how we went through a lot of the same things, and talk about how we dealt with those situations.
Right. And if this is not getting too personal, how do you see the return? Do you see us going back to school at this coming up semester that went back in fall, or do you see it still being, maybe we're still doing via Zoom and via conferencing? Like, what as a teacher, what do you kind of see in the upcoming months?
Um, Well, with my district, we're still trying to hear back as to exactly what it's going to look like. I know they're trying to push school where scholars are going back into the classroom like after Labor Day. And so I see maybe some more remote or virtual teaching, as
Hmm.
well as prayerfully, depending on the numbers and things like that. Maybe we'll be able to be in the classroom. There may be less students because some parents still don't feel comfortable sending their kids to school, and so we'll just have to play it by ear. But I'm just praying for the best, and it's a lot to think about.
Yes, it is, and this has just, I mean, rocked us all, rocked the whole world, really. But it's just a lot you have to consider, especially with you. You're talking about small children and
Yes,
how curious they can be,
yes,
and all the things that go on along with the classroom and keeping those masks on. So it's definitely something that I'm hoping the boards and the politics are taking to serious consideration before just saying, okay, we're going to open back up.
yes. Please take it seriously. And it's funny because I'm actually working on a book. It's a really simple book called No Calvin. And it's about this little boy. He goes back to school, and there are all these changes in the school where they're checking his temperature and things like that. He's wearing a mask, and he's not following any of those safety rules.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's like you see what he's doing, that, and it shows you what he's doing, shows you what you should not be doing in school.
Exactly.
And I want to
Right.
use it as a teaching tool. So I felt like that was very important, because when it comes to hand washing, and when it comes to with the little ones, I don't know if we'll necessarily have to wear masks, but as a teacher, like, we'll be wearing masks and shields. So his teacher has on a face shield, and she has on a mask, and it's just the reality of life now
Mhm.
after or with this pandemic. So I'm very excited about that project, but you're right, we really need to take this seriously.
Absolutely, absolutely, I agree, and thank you for that. And you seem to use your books as a teaching tool a lot in your classrooms. So, what's one of some of the messages that you hope readers, both students, parents, teachers, and your young readers will get from Miss Confetti and the teacher who was quarantined?
Just that, even though it seemed like Miss Confetti, I mean, yeah, Miss Confetti, she was in quarantine. She did want to go to school. So I want people to know that teachers still, they love their jobs. They want to be in the classroom. And also that, teachers are human. We go through things like they do. Like, I was watching a lot of Netflix and listening to books on Audible, and I would go to the store and not find toilet paper too. So
Mm,
just there's a lot of ways that we, can relate to each other. And, it does take a village to raise kids. And even though we're at a distance, we have to figure out different ways to help our scholars learn
absolutely,
together.
absolutely, I agree. And with that, well, you said through Amazon, but is there any other way? Or what's the best way to get in contact with you and purchase your books or book?
Really, really, you can follow me on Facebook at iHeart Teaching. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and I usually post the links to my books, or you can message me, and I'll let you know if there's a specific book that you like. I will get you a link.
Okay. And Miss Curls, with you being a author since 2016 and getting a number of awards and being at a number of different festivals, is there anything that you have coming up that you like to share with us? Any events or anything? I know with the lockdown, of course, a lot of stuff I had planned as an author and host got canceled. But is there anything that you have coming up that you like to share?
Not anything that's where I'm in a physical space, but I'm still working on writing. I'm currently working on a nursery rhyme book. It's actually it's called Jamal's Nursery Rhyme Remix, and so
Nice.
it features a lot of diverse characters, because we don't usually see diverse characters in nursery rhymes, and it also just has a twist to it. It's It's like you wouldn't just read it. It's almost like you could rap it, or it's kind of sing songy. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited about this project, and hopefully I get to wrap it up today so I can go ahead and publish it and get it out there. It's like it's going to be super amazing.
That sounds amazing. Can you tell us, because again, you wrote over 10 books now, and it sounds like you have a lot more projects in the works. Can you just share with us, for those who are thinking about writing a book, or maybe they wrote their first book and like, okay, I want to make sure the second one is even better, and I got to come on top. Give us some tips on your process to help someone else calm down, like it's gonna be okay. What are your tips to other writers and new writers?
Okay, my tip would be just write, because with me, especially when the pandemic started, I was like not encouraged, not motivated, didn't know what I was gonna write, didn't know this book about Miss Confetti wasn't even something I thought about, but it was inspired by my circumstances. So
Mm-hmm.
you never know where your inspiration is gonna come from, and just write, just just write. Like I can't tell you what I'll be working on next. It's because there's always something that inspires it.
Right. So just write about whatever you're inspired about and whatever you feel. Okay.
Yeah, just go with the flow. Like just put it out there you want to write, or if there may be something that you're interested in, maybe you have a goal and you say this is what I want to write about, then just do it. Like don't overthink, or sometimes you'll never do it if you keep overthinking it. Just get started and everything will fall into place.
I like that. Thank you. And that I couldn't have said it better myself. Myself. Great advice. Appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you writing all these books with diverse characters or characters of color, so the young ones can see, and even parents and teachers and those older ones can see uh, characters that look like us. We need more representation in books
Yeah.
and children's books. And so, thank you for being that. And we wish you the best of luck. And is there nothing else you'd like to share with us? We're not wishing you up by any means. Uh, um,
I just want to thank you for having me. And representation does matter.
mhm.
And I just want to remind everybody my name is Shondra Quarles. I am the author of The Teacher Who Was Quarantined and Couldn't Go to School. I'm coming to you from Texas, and we are live in the D with Mr. BB.
All right. Thank you, Miss Carol, so much.
Yes, thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. BB.
Today's quote on Live in the D with Mr. BB is: if you always put limits on everything you do, physical or anything else, it will spread into your work and into your life. There are no limits, there are only plateaus. And you must not stay there. You must go beyond them. Bruce Lee.
Hey.